Get ready for a journey through time with the rare Volkswagen Gol. Its classic design and charm will ignite your passion for classic cars. Step inside and be transported to a bygone era. The vintage interior exudes charm, capturing the essence of a simpler, more authentic driving experience. Witness the legend in action. The Volkswagen Gol's timeless beauty and agile performance make every drive an exhilarating experience. Embrace the spirit of the past, a rare find that commands attention and leaves an incredible mark on the road. Buckle up and experience the allure of the Volkswagen Gol. And we're lucky again in our budget car segment, ladies and gentlemen. We've got a winter tire here, meaning the car has been for sale since February, so we didn't have time to switch to summer tires. But it hasn't really been driven anywhere, and even in winter, if we decided to take it, we don't even need to change the tires. It's brilliant, actually. By the way, I can't boast about this in my Range Rover. Firstly, I already used up all the summer tires and don't want to throw them away. And secondly, I didn't have winter tires for the Range Rover. But 3 days ago it was -5, and when you go out, the struggle begins. But thank goodness I bought winter tires, although I haven't put them on yet, but I'll do it now. Look at this moment. Many of you may ask why it looks so ugly. What are these square shapes? Why did they try to fit a unicorn on a rhinoceros or something like that? In general, cross a hippopotamus with a sperm whale. And indeed, it's strange. This car looks like the designers were trying to mold something old and square with plasticine. And you're right, that's exactly it. It's the Volkswagen Pointer, also known as the Gol in its home country. If you don't know what a Volkswagen Gol is, then you're not from around here, because this car was specifically created for Latin American countries. It was designed as an entry-level car, meant for those with little driving experience and so on. The story began seriously around the mid-1970s, not in Brazil, but in Germany. Since then, Volkswagen engineers released the first Golf, replacing the Volkswagen Beetle. Now let's skip to the mid-70s. Volkswagen had achieved great success with the first Golf. The Volkswagen Beetle was already outdated by the mid-70s, and the Volkswagen Group was facing serious financial problems. They needed to create something cheap, durable, and profitable. That's where the first Golf came in. And later, they released the GTI, about which I recently told you the story. However, by the end of the 70s and the beginning of the 80s, while watching trucks with German license plates queuing for unloading in the director's office, the Volkswagen Group started to think, what else could they do? And after that, they decided that they needed America, Latin America, to be precise. And so they went there. There was a special division in Volkswagen. I think it was called Volkswagen to Brazil. And I might have forgotten its name. At that time, I didn't memorize information well when all of this was happening. And they decided that they needed a special car for Latin America. That's where the Volkswagen Gol, or Pointer, came in. There wasn't much to build it from, as Volkswagen had only 2 existing platforms at the time. The first was the Golf, which stood apart, and the second was the B1 platform, on which the Audi 80 and the Volkswagen Passat were built. In general, all that had the B1 index was Passat's first generation, and it didn't matter what the Audi 80 generation was. Anyway, they had this platform on which they built this square, a little, compact, and somewhat sad car, the entry-level car, and they called it the Volkswagen Gol. Next, progressive Volkswagen started developing and making B2 platforms, which included the Volkswagen Passat B2, Audi B2, Audi 100 B2, and so on. In general, it was the 80s, and the second generation had already started. Then came the B3 generation. I think you all understand what I'm talking about. We're talking about the Volkswagen B3, and after that, we had the B4 generation and so on. And the Volkswagen Gol was simply left hanging there, drying out on this little rope like a fish. and it continued to exist quite well. You might ask, why didn't they create something new? Well, because the Volkswagen division in Brazil operated in the same way as the Avtovaz, the latter car manufacturer in the Soviet Union. They churned out Gol cars in such massive quantities that their production was simply impossible to change. Over 10 million Gol cars were made, and Volkswagen had every right, morally, physically and aesthetically, not to change anything about it. The demand was beyond human comprehension. Everyone was buying Volkswagen Gol, even those without arms or those who couldn't drive or speak. Even animals bought Volkswagen Gol. Really, I'm not insulting anyone. I mean real animals. They sold it to everyone and it remained unchanged. Somewhere around this time it was already, you could say, licked. Why? Because initially it was square, ugly and awful, and then they kind of licked it, and that's why they call this platform not B1BX. But essentially, it's the same platform used in the 80s. It's just another variation. That's why if we now open the hood, and we can do that, you'll see the same longitudinal engine layout with a side-mounted radiator and front-wheel drive. Although, everything should be the other way around. This insanity on the BX platform went on without any changes until the Polo Saturn showed up and ruined everything. It just came, and in Brazil, a Saturn is called Volkswagen Gol, and it has a different front end. That was the end of an era, and now it's just an ordinary Polo Saturn, like we have. So in 1 millisecond, in one jump, Brazil in 1978 jumped to 2000. What a disaster. And they slid down and became just as dull as us. Just a boring back class. It's not some remarkable division anymore. It's all the same stuff. Well, why the hell was it so good? We enjoyed it for 26 years. We built this trichomonad and everything was great. A complete set and all rapid. Let's talk about it more. It's nothing special now, just an ordinary car. The legend ended so ingloriously. And thanks for watching, everyone. Good luck with the next videos. And goodbye. But this was just a prehistoric background for a reason. Thanks to this fantastic history, millions of Gol cars were produced for 26 years on the assembly line. And they did something too. By the way, it's very close to our Lada 9, which first appeared in 1984. Let's add another 2 hours to the timeline. Let's talk about the 9 for a bit. It transformed into 10, then the 11, then 12, and so on. Now it exists as the 70s, which includes Kalina, Grand, and on today's date, the Kalina became the Granta. In other words, when you criticize the domestic car industry and say, how many years have they been doing nothing? Enough of torturing this platform. Welcome to the American car industry, where everything is just the same, only worse. Seriously. It's even worse there, because they make front-wheel drive cars with a longitudinal engine. At least our 9 was initially designed correctly, but here, everything is done haphazardly. In these 26 years, they turned this thing into a station wagon, then a hatchback, and here they made a bleep pickup truck. Yes, they made a pickup truck, seriously. They turned the roof of this Gol into a micro pickup truck with front-wheel drive. I can't even imagine what kind of madness was happening in Brazil all the time. They put everything they wanted under the hood. In our case, it had a 4-cylinder engine with just 1 liter. They added turbo, 1.6 liters, 1.8 liters, even 2 liters. They had a fantastic range of options, which now everyone would laugh at. It was called Total Flex. Yes, it was the Volkswagen Gol Total Flex. I can't even imagine what they were thinking while designing it. They had all sorts of engines, even diesel. Anything you could imagine was there. It was like they had a task every month to create a new Gol variant. They were really having fun, except for the fact that there was no all-wheel drive. After all, it was a budget segment, so it wasn't feasible. The Gol was no legendary car. It's not even appropriate to call it that. Yet you knew nothing about it. I look at you, and I'm embarrassed. All right, let's get the phones out now. Of course, Nikita wants help. Nikita wants help. No. Okay. No. Without Nikita, we won't be able to do anything. Let's go back, Nikitos. No, guys. The joke is that it seems the car has a rigged wire connection now. We need to turn around. One lamp is enough. The battery's hot. What next? Oh man, 1978. Listen to me attentively. Anyway, who cares? Just put the wire on the battery now. It drives so energetically without the battery. You found the battery? Seriously. He probably has a hidden extra battery somewhere. I don't know what kind of battery it is, maybe better than ours. But it's big. You wrote it's not? In short, our Kalina's battery is giving us a little trouble. If we connect the wire to the battery, the car barely moves. The lights are dim, the power windows don't work, the heater... The moment you disconnect the battery, the car starts and it runs like it's on CBEC. So everything works perfectly except when it's connected to the battery. Besides that, there is another issue. Now we'll change the battery and see what happens. Definitely it's because it gets hot. There should be a button, but there is none, only fingers. Scouts, just wait for a moment. Oh, here it is. The secrets of victory. Something like that. Well, it looks like we won't open it anymore like this. Anyway, we have everything we need in our kit. We can stabilize the lateral stability if we want. We have a stabilizer. We have a complete set of summer tires, if you want. Because the winter ones are already on the front, and there is no need to change them. As I mentioned, even the brush. In principle, the car is equipped, and to avoid getting my hands dirty, gloves were already prepared for my grab handles. There is also a spare tire under the floor. I must say that for this size, it's an awesome trunk, because to calculate the size of the trunk of a car, it should fit 4 wheels of the car. This means the trunk is designed well, and I'm sure they will fit because they can lie down, or not just lie down, but probably stand too. Anyway, they will fit, I tell you for sure. If it gets very scary, there is even toilet paper to fix the consequences when it gets very scary. Everything is available. At the back, we can see that even the pillars move. The column starts, I think, yes, the pillars begin their journey towards the panoramic suspension, so that we can look at the springs and everything else from here. All of it is technology. Yes. There is less plastic in the package. It's not a fantasy. Clearly. If the longitudinal beams come off, it's not scary. We have clamps. But yes. You won't break all 4 longitudinal beams immediately, so 6 clamps are enough. In short, the trunk is available. And actually, if you compare it to everything we bought before for 100,000 rubles, approximately, this car is just great in terms of ergonomics, and it's actually not so scary to drive in it. It's the top, but from the outside, you can't tell it's a Volkswagen. Inside, it's like a Volkswagen. So, on the go. I can tell you guys, we've looked at cars for 100,000. Yes, there was the Opel Kadett of 1984 or 1985, where you felt like you were sitting in the 80s. After that we had the Renault Logan, about which they said either it's good or nothing, because the cabin was really created for an octopus, and now we're sitting in the car for 100,000, in this case for 70,000 rubles. Well, in good condition. It will cost 100,000, and this car is finally the one that feels normal to sit in. Yes, it's all designed to be like a Volkswagen, but it's just a resemblance to a Volkswagen. The steering wheel looks somewhat familiar, but it's also somewhat different. The climate control unit is also similar, but it's kind of a B5 Passat style, but maybe not exactly. The buttons are even designed. They came up with some things. It certainly will be the same here. Window lifts. Not everything is exactly the same, you know? Take notes, but don't copy exactly. But that's not important. What's important is the attitude towards the person. Often, when we now get into the budget segment, you feel like they want to spit in your face, especially to belittle you. Here it's also present, but it's literally expressed only in this instrument cluster, because just look at this. How could they even allow this? What kind of instrument cluster it is? In our budget versions of Volkswagen, usually what we're used to is that you have a clock instead of a tachometer. Yes, there is no tachometer or clock here, no temperature gauge or nothing. This circle, why is it here? What is this thing? There is only a fuel gauge. It's clear that there should be other instruments on this half, but they are simply not there. There is a design inscription, but there is even no design itself, it's absent. The instrument cluster is the maximum not informative. You have so much information, like speed and fuel level in the tank. Of course, if they were allowed, they probably wouldn't even bother with displaying the fuel level. It's a disrespectful attitude towards the customer. Now, here's what I don't like. How the hands rest, how you sit, even when there is a space for armrest. The seat is all fancy, really nice. It's a special seat, not something you often find in this class. It has velour with some imitation of side support. Even the gear shifter for the transmission, yes, it's finished. Beavers chewed it off. But still, there is even a chrome button around it. It looks a bit strange, but I sat down and my phone is right there. There is even space for various things, receipts and such. 2 cup holders down here. It's well thought out. You understand that there is the climate control and the radio just above it. Here's the cigarette lighter a bit higher. Yes, we have a cigarette lighter. Something to plug in, and here lies everything neatly. There are 2 airbags in the steering wheel and 1 for the passenger. Just below my left knee, there is a glove compartment, and there is also space for various things, including phones or brochures, maybe business cards, who knows. Anyway, we'll live with it. The visor is there, and even a mirror on the right side. Although it's just a regular mirror without a visor. Well, that's everything. All cool. Even the pillar near the rear view mirror is covered with plastic. It's just that the box rattles on the first gear. What can you do? Something that happens. Pay attention. I have an adjustable seat. Now I'm going up. Oh, I'm going up. And down as well. It's adjustable in height, which is pretty good for this price. I must say, for this bucks, it's a really comfortable seat. But now, about all the controls, about everything else. We have a stop for lateral stability in the trunk, it depends on the condition, but overall, it rides well. Well, a good suspension. Oh god, it's fuel thirsty. I'm starting to stutter. Well, the car, even if we talk about the design, yes, we have speakers in the door down there, and tweeters. They even have covers near the door opening. You see, they tried to improve the design. Of course, back in 2004, they were already producing all of this. 24 years. Well, that's it, everything is here. Understandable. They had the time to figure out the design, and it's simpler. Let's try entering dynamically. Yes, and there is not enough soundproofing. You can hear the motor and the wheels. all this nonsense? Probably because there's just no insulation. There is a hole in the floor, we can hear all of that, but it's there, it's nice. You know, you feel happy when you sit in a basic car. And there are echoes of a Passat or Golf. Of course, not a Passat, just a Golf. There is space for legs at the back. Right now Nikitos is sitting behind me. He's not complaining much. Well, it's not luxury, of course, but it's cool, I can tell you that. And it's especially valuable when you compare it to the cars we've already bought. Without contrast, you probably won't feel it. You see in a new car, it's the same as the others, but we bought so many different ones for the same price. And there is not much difference. Our Logan was from 2006, and this one is from 2004. They are even from the same year. Not much of a shame for a Logan, but this car, in terms of interior, they're both equally good, well made. Everything fits well. Even the power of the engines, they both have 75 horsepower, 1.465, it all adds up. In general, the Logan can put its tailgates in the trunk. It's all about ergonomics, the cabin, the interior. The exterior is, of course, at a good level, but there are some flaws. For example, the head of the seat belt is adjustable. Some things are not without issues, but overall, it's an option, a real option. If not, for the scarcity of its parts, is just very rare. Finding spare parts for it is scary, especially for the engine, especially for its liter and the gearbox, as it fits on the 2-liter version. Body parts, headlights, everything, these are consumables. There's the ball joints, filters, everything, but what to do with everything else? It might only come from Brazil. Have you ever inquired how long it would take to get parts if you suddenly need them, or from Latin America? I can tell you right now, I have no idea. And searching for used parts is not easy, because it's not the most common car. Others like you also need help with that. And here's the Achilles heel of the Pointer. It seems to be in good condition, but in reality, the bottom of the car is full of serious problems. There are no seals. They're completely gone. It's all rusty. The brake lines are all in absolute decay. The most important thing, instead of rear drums, they're just an emulation. There is a rear drum, but inside there is neither a cylinder nor brake pads. Nothing all. The longitudinal beams are still in place, but everything around them is crowded. You can see that the whole bottom is covered with carpet, and you don't even know where the bottom ends and the carpet begins. Surprisingly, despite all this, the car has a new subframe. They replaced something and tried to change it. There is also a fuel filter hanging near the rear beam, and it feels like it's as old as the car itself. Anyway, no matter how good it looks from the outside, and no matter how cool it is to sit inside, and how it's generally a decent car from below, I can just tell goodbye, my friend. It's a unique case for 70,000 rubles, a legend that nobody knows because it's a legend from the other side of the planet. Yes, it's still a Brazilian story, and indeed 10 million units were produced for a reason. But you need to drive it. We don't pay attention to its appearance. You know, I had a very strange search on the internet recently. Tune in Volkswagen Pointer, Volkswagen Pointer 2.0, Volkswagen Pointer Turbo. I tried searching on local search engines, nothing. I found a club of Volkswagen Pointer owners. I thought, great. They must have straight pipes for this car, wheels, lighting, and aesthetics, tuning that we deserve for this car. Nothing serious has been done to it, because people buy this car cheaply to drive and then sell it. And since you rarely come across it, it's super difficult to fix it. And of course, if you're going to buy one, my advice is to look for the 1.8-liter engine with 100 crazy horsepower. And it's not just because it's 1.8 with 100 horsepower, it's because this liter has an extremely unreliable gearbox. Everyone complains about it. Even in ours, the first gear pops out and everything curses it. It's almost impossible to find anything for this car. You have to look for used parts, even from Brazil. And if you want to find any parts for this car, Europe won't help. America won't help because it's Latin America. That is America from there. Which America? It turns out that they're different, and they won't help you there. The Arab Emirates won't help you either, and in Japan it's the same story. So when you're looking for spare parts for your regular car, you have the whole list of countries around you from where you can possibly get them even nowadays. Seriously, I mean it. But when it comes to cars, even in the best times, it's a mystery where to find everything. And now it's almost impossible. Moreover, Latin America has some extremely convoluted logistics, and somehow they haven't connected their transportation and corridors properly. It's sad, painful when it comes to spare parts. However, in all other aspects, I believe this car is fantastically underrated in our country. With those 10 million units, what do they mean? The car didn't just appear out of nowhere. The most important thing is that in 2004, the Platform 78 was a direct embodiment of what used to be better. People always believed that things were better in the past, but of course, they've all had their ups and downs. So if you're looking for an option for 100,000 rubles to drive and at least sit inside like a human being, I highly recommend considering the Volkswagen Pointer, also known as the Gol. It's truly an excellent car, and you can find it in good condition for 100,000 rubles, unlike what we bought today. Seriously, there are several of them being sold in almost every region. Thank you so much for watching this video. See you in the next one as we continue to explore life on a budget of 100,000 rubles. Good luck for you, and bye for now.